Graduation is an opportune time to talk about races. You're coming to an end of a race of sorts, hopefully more a race against yourself than one against any of your classmates. A long race, a long run consisting of several years of self-discovery and improvement and pressing forward and exhaustion and exhilaration. So I want to talk today about a race. I want to talk briefly about the 200-meter dash at the 1968 Olympics, the Summer Games held in Mexico City. In 1968, the Summer Games were held in October. The race was phenomenal. It lasted all of about 20 seconds. It was remarkable for the world record that was set in the final, with American Tommy Smith crossing the tape at 19.83 seconds. I think it is also remarkable for the battle for second place that took place, which saw Australian sprinter Peter Norman surge over the last 30 meters or so to edge out American John Carlos for second place. You can find it on YouTube. It's amazing. Norman's behind, and the last 30 just whoosh, straight, second place, whoosh. Write that down. Norman's was a great way to run a race, with an outstanding kick at the end. This is also, by the way, a perfectly fine way to graduate from Rice, with a last week surge to get you over the finish line. The 200-meter final that year was epic in its finish, but nowadays it is probably better known for what happened afterwards at the medal ceremony. Smith, Norman, and Carlos all approached the stands wearing badges supporting the Olympic Project for Human Rights. John Carlos mounted the stand with his jacket unzipped. Both Black American sprinters were also shoeless. They walked up in black stocking socks. None of this was quite following Olympic sartorial protocol. And then the Star-Spangled Banner queued up, and Smith raised a black-gloved right hand to the sky, and Carlos a black-gloved left hand. And I don't know if a band was playing the Star-Spangled Banner, but I imagine if it was, they played the anthem a little more up-tempo to get it over with. When it was over with, the stadium booed the sprinters off the stand. And afterwards, the IOC president demanded that Smith and Carlos be expelled from the games. And they were actually ultimately removed. And they were removed ostensibly for their political speech, for forcing a domestic matter of American and world politics onto the Olympic stage. But of course, the Star-Spangled Banner had played while they were on stage. The Star-Spangled Banner. That's political speech, isn't it? Have you listened to the Star-Spangled Banner? There are bombs exploding in the air. Political, a little. Their real offense was actually one of decorum. Or it wasn't, one of decorum. Their real offense was to speak out, to live out, actually, to live out against poverty and inequality. Their real offense was to challenge American ideas of white supremacy and to challenge colonialism writ large. The official response to Smith and Norman and Carlos all underlined as much. The official response to their act of speech speaks to the worst in us. And it's no need to catalog the worst of us. Our racism, our sexism, our intolerances, our nativism. But what does this race and its aftermath in Mexico City have to do with us here and now? Are we about to contest the 200-meter dash in robes? It would be interesting. I'd put my money on Chioma. I thought they would do that and say Jones wins again. But if we did that, I think she would win. But we're not going to race. After 5 years of living and working amongst Rice students, working and living among Rice students, I am convinced that you are collectively the active repudiation of everything that went wrong in Mexico City. I am convinced that you are the active repudiation of much of what is wrong in the world. That you are absolutely the repudiation of what most ails American history. That you are the counter to what Smith and Norman and Carlos ran against. You are an amazing collection of peoples from all corners of the country and the world, of various races, ethnicities, religions, non-religions, sexes, genders, sexual orientations. As a group, you are a sort of people that 100 years ago in this corner of Houston, we would not have had good reason to believe that could be collected in one place without violence. But you are here now. And one of Smith and Norman and Carlos's offenses in Mexico City was their conspicuous blackness. They did not humbly submit themselves to the demands of the prevailing racial order. They did not bow or scrape. They did not apologize for what they thought. They did not apologize for who they had been born. They did not apologize for who they had become. They did not do any of those things, and so they were punished for that. And one remarkable aspect about this community, about your community, one remarkable aspect about it is the way that it does not demand out of its difference a compliance. This community is remarkable for the way that it embodies the script on the Great Seal of the United States. And this embodiment is apparent, I think. I'm saying I think. This embodiment is apparent, I know, in the ways that you live together. But it is even more apparent in the demands that you make of one another. Here, in this place, the motto on the Great Seal, I am convinced, is more than a motto. Differences abound at Rice. There are black tables at Rice. I've seen them. When I first sit down at any table in the Commons, it's a black table. There are Mandarin tables at this university, and they are not run by the Center for Languages and Intercultural Communication. I have also sat down at them. I had to listen very hard. I think I understood some. There is at my college something called Team Brown Weiss, and it turned out to be not what I thought it was. There is at my college a thing called Team Fem Weiss, and it turned out to be even more than I thought it was. There was at the college I live a much too short-lived attempt at a Team Afro Weiss. It did not take off. But what I have learned in the college and what I have learned in the university from the vantage of the college is that there is no one way to be who we are. And that the cultivation of perspective, the cultivation of difference, the deliberate and express cultivation of different kinds of merit is fundamental, is foundational to our excellence. We are not a community because of what we agree on. We are a community, too, because what we agree to actively disagree about. We are a community because of what we agree to struggle over. We are a community because we commit to remain in community, especially when we disagree. This way of being that we have lately come to at Rice, this way of being, I think, more often we leave it unsaid. It is more left unsaid. It is more observed than it is discussed. But I think that in the world that you are about to enter, you will need to articulate it even more fully and embody it even more fully in the next stages of your life. Because alas, much of the world does not look like the collective you or live like the collective you. The part of we that are the faculty don't even look like and live like the part of we that are you. You are a special community, and I think the world will need you to articulate even more fully and embody who you are and who you have been here even more fully in the next stage of your lives. Because racism, sexism, nativism, and fascism do not crumble under the weight of their own fallacies. They do not deconstruct because they are mocked. They do not fall apart because they are self-mocking. To be checked, they must be struggled against. They must be fought against. But most of all, I think they must be lived against. They must be lived against in the ways that you have practiced here.